And now, a Scared for Reals Extra.
Hey, it's Chris O'Neill.
Adam Perry.
All right, we have a brand new supernatural horror film that was released a few weeks ago called Imaginary, directed and produced by Jeff Wadlow, and of course, another Blumhouse Productions. Children's author is married to a musician. Now, the musician has two daughters from a previous marriage, and the little girl likes her new stepmom, but the teenager keeps her at arm's length. Now, this children's author is named Jessica, who's played by DeWanda Wise. She's plagued by nightmares, which include her dad and her fictional character, because she has this children's story, and fictional character, very creative, imaginative. Simon the Spider is the fictional character's name, and after the family moves into Jessica's childhood home, the little girl Alice discovers a teddy bear in the basement named Chauncey, forms a bond with him, and an elderly neighbor who babysat Jessica when she was a child reunites with her, and of course she shares memories of Jessica's childhood, which she cannot remember. How convenient.
Right.
So Alice and Taylor's mentally disturbed biological mom sneaks in the house to see her daughters, attacks Jessica, the stepmom. Police arrive to take her away. Taylor confesses to texting her. You're probably listening to this whole plot outline. What does this have to do with
evil teddy bear?
Evil teddy bear. And again, the evil teddy bear, there's little nuances here and there throughout the movie. But to me, the last half hour is when the movie comes to life.
Okay.
It really comes to life in the last half hour. So we're going to do some spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the movie Imaginary yet, you probably should stop listening right now. So we get this whole thing with the imaginary friend, if you will, Chauncey, the possessed teddy bear. So the little girl, Alice, becomes hyper-focused on a scavenger hunt from Chauncey. Chauncey's overwhelming presence in Alice's life begins to disturb her stepmom, Jessica. And so what happens, this whole thing with the imaginary possessed bear comes to fruition when the teenage sister, Taylor, invites an acquaintance over who really, let's drink some alcohol, pop some pills, get high kind of thing.
Have some fun. Party.
Yeah, have some fun. A party for two, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
So, he shatters the bottle of alcohol, so he attempts to find a towel, so he goes wandering around the house by himself and discovers Chauncey, who briefly turns into a monstrous bear.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Of course, he takes pills, so that isn't really...
Yeah.
Afterwards, Jessica arrives home. She's angry, obviously, at Taylor, the teenage girl, for having someone over without permission and all that kind of stuff. And it's funny how Max, Jessica's husband, the father, he's kind of like not present except for the beginning. He's in the movie for the first half, and then he's nowhere to be found in the second half or the last half of the movie either. So it's like, what happened? It doesn't even mention where he goes.
Yeah.
He's a musician, so I guess you have to assume he's touring.
He's on tour, man. He's on tour, man.
Even though the movie alludes nothing to music or tour or anything like that. So afterwards, Jessica narrowly stops the little girl, Alice, from slamming her hand down onto a nail, because that's one of the things Chauncey's doing, these scavenger hunt things. So she sees that she's about ready to slam her hand on a nail that's coming out of a piece of wood. So there's interesting jump scare moments, and that's one of them. The stepmom, Jessica, calls for a psychologist to come to speak with a little girl, and she observes Alice talking to Chauncey and speaking on his behalf, who makes threatening remarks about the stepmom. And of course, the little girl sobs over their crumbling friendship and with the imaginary bear. So Jessica discovers that only she and Alice can see the bear.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought they were going to do something more with that, where no one can see the bear except for Jessica, the stepmom.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to do something with that. But no. Nothing like that. So they're the only two that can see the bear, and the doctor shows Jessica the footage of a past child patient, and the patient uses a phrase Alice used called never ever. I guess the phrase comes up only a couple of times. You know, it's not like something that was like, oh, wow, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a phrase that has to be in there.
Okay.
Yeah. You ever watch a horror movie and they force something like that?
I'm sure I have. Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah.
You know.
So Alice disappears after speaking to Chauncey again, and the teenage daughter blames her stepmom, of course, for her sister's disappearance. And then the teenage daughter encounters Gloria, the one who babysat Jessica, the stepmom, when she was a little girl, invites her to the house, explains what happened to Jessica as a child. Chauncey was also Jessica's childhood imaginary friend. Gloria explains that the imaginary friends are spirits that tether to the young and may become aggressive if abandoned, which Jessica did. And this is where, in my opinion, this is the only part of the movie that becomes really interesting.
Yeah.
So Jessica goes through her old belongings, finds drawings of Chauncey and the familiar never ever. So Taylor and Gloria return and they complete the scavenger hunt. A glowing door in the basement appears. Now, the never ever is a realm controlled by imagination. And again, they go through these different doors and everything. It's like, why couldn't they have done this from the beginning? Instead of making like the first 70 some odd minutes kind of like a bore.
Yeah.
You know, all these plots that a lot of them really don't add up to anything. The only thing that's interesting is the kid's relationship with the imaginary bear.
Right.
So the never ever, the realm controlled by imagination, they find a door showing Jessica's childhood incident. Chauncey had lured Jessica into the never ever. Her dad, Ben, rescued her, going mad in the process from seeing Chauncey's eyes. So it's like you can't stare into the imaginary bear's eyes. You can't do it.
Right.
All right. So Jessica left home shortly after to live with her paternal grandmom. Gloria closed the escape route, having grown obsessed with the realm. A door opens beside Gloria, and Chauncey mauls her to death. So there's the end of the babysitter. Okay. Again, this is a spoiler alert. So Jessica and Taylor rescue Alice and attempt to escape. Chauncey goes berserk as the group leaves, but Jessica stops him by stabbing him in the eye. So after reuniting with Ben and Max at the institution, Jessica realizes she is still stuck in the imaginary world. Chauncey used Alice as bait to get his real target as revenge for abandoning him. So that's the big plot twist.
Interesting.
So Taylor arrives, saves Jessica. Chauncey turns to his true form, akin to Simon. Now, her imaginary character that she created in the fictional kids book.
Okay.
So that's Simon the Spider.
Yep.
The spider tries to turn Jessica insane with his eyes, but Alice sets the creature on fire, seals him behind the door. The family escapes as the house burns to the ground. The movie can't end there.
Of course not.
Because the family checks into a hotel, but they're frightened by another child playing with his imaginary friend, who is the very same bear. The three leave for the next hotel, and that's how the movie ends.
I wouldn't have stayed either.
But again, I'm like nodding off like over an hour into the movie, and once they get into that never ever imagination world, that's when the movie is actually interesting.
Yeah.
I wish they could have gotten to that sooner and just made the whole movie about that. You know, doing a little bit of flashbacks here and there, and
right,
because I mean it's Jessica's story. And it's like, okay, do we really need to have the husband in there at all? You can allude to him, again, through different flashbacks, I guess. But it was like all this buildup of the relationship with the two daughters and stuff. It just, to me, it had no point. You know? They didn't really do anything with it.
I haven't seen the movie yet.
I know.
I know there's been a lot of talk and a lot of buzz about this movie. It's really hard to tell right now if this thing's going to be
It broke even. It actually made a little bit of money.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been out for a week and
a few weeks now.
Well, the 8th. It's so yeah, about a week and a half. And as of this recording. So yeah, I mean, for a movie that was made for between 10 to 12 million, making 16.2 at the box office, I mean, it broke its budget.
Yeah.
I don't know, Chris. Do you think this is the next big Blumhouse franchise?
No, I don't know, because Universal Pictures had the first look deals on Blumhouse titles, but opted not to release Imaginary.
Yeah.
Blumhouse shopped the film around, where Lionsgate secured a distribution deal. So not every studio is crazy about this movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was released along with Kung Fu Panda 4, and obviously that didn't help it make, know. But again, it didn't cost a lot to make. So, I mean, 10 to 12 million is equivalent to 30 or 40,000 back in the 60s and 70s.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, it made money. I think Jason Blum really wants to become the next Roger Corman, or this generation's Roger Corman. And I can't think of any filmmaker that has gotten his start with Blumhouse that has really done anything amazing.
Not really.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Time will tell.
I mean, like
Time will tell.
they've had made some good movies in the genre that have been very popular, but nothing that it's kind of redefined the genre or transcended the super mainstream. I mean, boy, Blumhouse is tough. I would
Five Nights at Freddy's is the biggest success, I would say, out of the Blumhouse for money. I mean, that movie made over $200 million.
What did the Halloween movies make? Because that was huge.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did do the Halloween trilogy.
The
last Halloween trilogy. I see. That's how memorable those movies are for me.
Well, well, you didn't even see them.
I couldn't see them. I couldn't bear to watch them. I saw 2-minute previews. That was enough for me to say I do not want to watch these movies.
I have my opinions on. We can do another show on those another time. But I'm trying to think of.
But
what
most
else.
recently, that's his most recent success was Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah.
Because Night Swim did okay. That was another Blumhouse movie.
I mean, again, they've had good franchises. I mean, they got the Paranormal Activity franchise, the Insidious franchise, the Purge franchise. They've done the Get Out.
Yeah, that's probably the only Blumhouse. I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, if you're actually, what directors have really kind of, transcended out through Blumhouse. I mean, Jordan Peele.
Well, he's had one really good movie, and Us wasn't too bad, and then Nope was again, they all made money though.
Right.
They were all big successes. Was Nope released under Blumhouse too?
I believe so.
It could have been.
It could have been.
But let's focus on Imaginary. Jeff Wadlow is no stranger to the horror realm. He's actually been around for over 20 years. From a short film called The Tower of Babel, his biggest, probably his most critically acclaimed horror film so far has been Cry Wolf. Remember that one?
Yeah, I remember Cry Wolf.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did not see that, but as far as success, box office success, I'd say probably Wadlow's biggest so far is probably Kick-Ass 2.
Okay.
And Tarantino loved Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those movies. So, I mean, but that's probably his biggest money-making film to date. From what I'm seeing here is Kick-Ass 2. And critical-wise, Cry Wolf is probably his most successful. So, I mean, the guy's, been around for over 20 years. He's almost 50 years old. So,
yeah.
Imaginary is probably good for a one-time watch, I would imagine. I can't see very many people clamoring to see it a second time. It's unfortunate. It's got one interesting idea surrounded by a bunch of cliche ideas that we've seen a million times, and none of them are fleshed out. And technically, this could have been a short movie, a 30-minute film.
Right.
And it would have probably been decent enough.
I mean, I know prior to coming out, there was definitely a whole bunch of buzz about it. People were very interested, very
it's a good one-time watch, Adam. You probably may enjoy it more than I did, but
okay.
Again, I found only the last 30 minutes to be interesting. Again, when they get to that never ever imaginary realm, I'm like, okay, this isn't too bad. I just wish the rest of the movie could have been as interesting. Imaginary, it's playing in theaters everywhere. What did you think? Did you see the movie? Just get in touch with us through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X. Let us know what you thought of Imaginary. Again, if you'd like us to delve into another film franchise, if you really want me to sit through that last Halloween trilogy, again, give us some feedback, because those 3 movies look awful to me, and Adam loves them. So
I never said I loved them. I never said I loved them. All I'm saying is you never saw them, and you say they suck.
Well, again, I can look at for my personal taste, I can look at like 2 or 3 minutes of a movie, and I can tell if I'm going to like it or not. And those movies, let's just put it this way: the second of the 2, which was released in 2021, released the same week as Last Night in Soho by Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright's movie bombed, while the second Halloween movie was very successful. But everyone coming out of the movie theater, the manager was telling me how everyone hated it. It's like, well, you got Last Night in Soho down there, which is 10 times better, more interesting.
Yeah, well, listen, from owning a business that dealt in horror merch, Michael Myers will outsell anything you put up against it. Right. Whether the movie is good or not.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But it's like there's other quality movies, and people are complaining that they spent their hard-earned money on another Halloween movie, and it wasn't good.
And they're going to do it every single time. Yeah. It's just the way that is. You know, you put the greatest movie of all time up against it, and Halloween will probably still outsell it.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Depends on how you look at it. Depends.
Well, I know it's all subjective. Yep. It's opinions are subjective, and I like movies that don't do as well at the box office, and I don't necessarily love Oscar-winning films because some of them get nominated for Oscars, a lot of them don't, and most people, actually, I would say like almost 100% of people, if they listed their favorite movies, most of them would not be Oscar winners.
Right.
So that's why you love the Halloween franchise. I like 2 Halloween movies.
Yeah.
So there you go. But anyways, Blumhouse, they're going to continue to churn out movies, quality or not. We leave that up to you. Again, let us know if you've seen the new Blumhouse production, Imaginary.